On Purpose Adventures offers over 20 unique programs to companies that are looking to advance their team bonding and team building experiences. Today, I talk one-on-one with the founder and owner of On Purpose Adventures, Ben-jamin Toy, for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Ben-jamin Toy, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. You know, me and you actually met because I was over at Waterfront Park heading over to work over at Tempest that day, and I thought I saw On Purpose Adventures, and then obviously it was you, and you were conducting a experiment at that time. But I obviously know that On Purpose Adventures provide team building facilitation that keeps employees productive and engaged with virtual, in-person, and hybrid team building and bonding solutions. The On Purpose Team Building offers over 20 unique programs when it comes to your virtual, in-person, and hybrid teams, remaining focused and committed. What's new, what's now at On Purpose Adventures?
What's new is we have a program called Cohesion Culture, where we've aligned with Dr. Troy Hall, best-selling author of the book Cohesion Culture, and we've taken his concepts and my experiential training and produced in-person sessions, online sessions, and also a module course that people can go through. We've been doing a lot of scavenger hunts. We have an app that lets people explore. So what I was doing when we ran into each other, I was facilitating a scavenger hunt using our app. And so people get to see Charleston in a very fun way that is designed for a team to get to know each other and be slightly competitive.
Wow. What is that cohesive culture right now?
Well, it's based on the strategic framework of belonging, value, and shared mutual commitment. And when you have all three, you have cohesion, and cohesion leads to increase in performance. And when you have higher performance, you have the engagement that most companies are seeking to have.
Wow. Wow. And what are those other things that companies are seeking to have right now, Ben-jamin?
Well, they're hoping to maintain and retain their employees, right? When hiring is a challenge, it's not so much the treats you give them, but how you treat them. Yeah. So the biggest thing for them is to recalibrate their mindset on working with employees. A lot of folks in the last 2 years have recalibrated what is important to them. If remote work is a possibility, or is it financial, is it culture? Like, a lot of employees have done this recalibration, and companies need to make the adjustment as well to know that they aren't a commodity anymore, that they have to take care of their people.
Oh, absolutely.
Or they're going to leave.
Oh, they're going to leave. And what was that mindset before COVID?
I would say that a lot of employers, not all, plenty of them understood and took care of people, but many said, well, if you don't do this, I'll just find someone else, and there'll be 5 other people that want to take your job, and they're realizing that's not really the case right now.
Right, absolutely. And going back to the app, and obviously your experiments around Charleston with your own Purpose Adventures initiative, how did people actually view Charleston prior to this organization?
How many have been here? I would say we probably deal with 50%, 50-50 of 50 that have been here, at least for a small visit, and others that are brand new. And then many times after they do experience Charleston, they decide to come back or bring their family, because we serve a lot of corporate stuff. Since in the last 2 years, we've done a lot more local business, actually, than also the visiting companies. Prior to 2020, 85 to 90% of our clientele were folks that were visiting Charleston doing a retreat or an incentive trip. And now I would say it's probably 50-50 that we're also doing a lot of local businesses, because local companies realize they need to have fun and bond their people. We give the Cohesion Culture program that we offer is the team building. It's the skill set enhancement. We call it the bricks of a good, strong cultural foundation. Bonding, which is the relationship-driven stuff, is the mortar, and you need bricks and mortar for the good foundation.
What was that solid foundation before On Purpose Adventures?
Well, sorry, mine? What was mine?
Yes, sir. What was your foundation before On Purpose Adventures?
Well, I was industrial engineering trained in school, and worked in a corporate environment while in college and realized that structure was not going to be for me. The bad experience that I had with the political realm of how rising to the top was very political. So I left them and helped a buddy start a book publishing company that is headquartered in Charleston. That's what brought me to Charleston. And after that, container freight trucking, believe it or not. So I was in sales in these realms. And then after having a stint of bad time with those companies, and not getting paid commissions, I said, I'm going to go fight for money. I'm going to go do it on my own. Right. And the first version of On Purpose Adventures was wanting to get paid to play. And so I created whitewater rafting trips and hiking trips and kayak trips and just got paid to do all that stuff. And then I realized I had to find something a little more consistent than planning one event every 6 months. And so we started with adventure-based bachelor and bachelorette parties with a little bit of corporate. And we have now since transitioned to being 90% corporate driven with the adventures, because a lot of folks that are inside the walls of working need to have some sort of adventure.
And Benjamin, this might be a complicated question, but now that you have On Purpose Adventures, how could these corporations and these companies that you deal with every time, how could they actually rise to the top without being political?
Well, it's understanding that the leadership side of things is the goal. Everybody can be a leader. And when you empower and you are more of a transformational leader and not a transactional leader, you want somebody to be better. And you want them to be better for whatever time you have them. And if, gone are the days of staying with a company for 40 years. The sooner that a manager has abundance mindsets and realize that I'm still going to pour into this person and train this person to be the best version that they can be while we have them, the better we're all going to be. Because the worst thing would be to have them stick with you for a number of years and you not train them or not put more into them, and then you have a non-trained, non-motivated person just hanging out.
What do you see? What are those flaws that you see in these companies when you actually train them through team building and team bonding?
One thing is a lack of self-awareness, that people are different and that we think and we solve problems differently. Or they might be aware of that, but through their own hiring practices, they've hired a certain type of personality that is very similar to their own.
Right.
And so a lack of diversity in thought is actually a big challenge. We work with executive teams a lot, and many times a lot of the executives have a lot of the same personality traits, and you need to have those other types to balance thought process off of, and realizing that they do need different inputs to make decisions.
Now, how are you a transformational leader here in Charleston with On Purpose Adventures?
Well, my goal is to empower people in the short time that we have, and we have a lot of seasonal employees too. Okay. And I want to pour into them to, challenge them to be better. I encourage reading. I want to find out what hobbies they have and what they do, and find out really what motivates them. And then in some cases, use that type of information to help, let's say, be the good carrot in front of them. Hey, if we hit this goal as a company, then you can actually do this a little bit more. And that's where the shared mutual commitment comes in, is when you understand what their real goal is, and in them achieving that helps the company and vice versa. It's really important, not just you need to sell out to the company and then we're going to do all these things later. It's got to be a scratching of the back, if you will.
And what other goals do you want to reach with On Purpose Adventures?
My goal is to be more well known in Charleston, because until the last 2 years, nobody really knew who we were, but also be a national known entity. We travel nationally, but we want to be a premier name in the team building, bonding, and primarily culture and employee retention side of what we do. I am not a crunchy kumbaya ropes course trainer. And so my approach to team building is solutions oriented, where we can give them takeaways that they can immediately apply, not just the good feeling. A lot of team building is actually just the bonding. We want to make sure that they have the skill sets to apply to actually make change.
And every day when I'm going actually trying to catch the bus to go someplace. I'm stopping by the visitor center and I see your video on the platform. So you're made it big in Charleston now.
And that's actually through Nature Adventures. That's our sister company. So that's our paddleboard and kayak company that we acquired 5 years ago, which I'd worked at during my hustle. I've been working there since 2013. And so after a few years of working there part-time, my wife and I were offered to purchase the company. And so we've been running that for 5 years now.
Wow. And I'm going to get back to that in just a second. But let me ask you this, Ben-jamin. What was that approach to team building and team bonding prior to your company?
What was my approach?
What was the corporate world's approach to team bonding and team building prior to
Gotcha. A lot of experience is that going out for happy hour, going bowling. I love River Dogs games. We're taking our own team to the River Dogs next week. A lot of the times people just say, if we get the group together, that's team building. Right. Or if we do a ropes course, or we do these things that stretch their comfort zones, they're built. But the science behind it is a little bit more, that they need a little bit more takeaways and discussing what they learned and how they're going to apply it personally, and not just that relationship-driven things. That is important. That's why it's called the mortar. It takes some time to cure, right? But you need them both.
How do you apply that personally?
I am continuously learning. I love reading and listening to different podcasts and concepts, training. And, the hard thing is with my personality is also realizing that I'm not always right, and that I can change my thought process on certain things, or be willing to change with some resistance, albeit, but trying to apply that, and that's the biggest challenge is when you do things the way you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. And when companies get to that point, that's a big red flag. And unfortunately, a lot of companies that are in the red flag, the danger zone, spend a whole lot of money on these bonding activities, thinking that if we just give them gifts and we take them out and we pay for food, that we're going to be better. But that becomes a problem. A majority of folks that hire us on a scale of 1 to 10 as far as good culture are going to be a 5 or higher, that are already aware of it. They're already doing some good things and they want to enhance it. The ones that are throwing the Hail Mary out, it's a little too late for that. If you're below a 5, there's a lot of stuff that has to be done.
Wow. And what are those other danger zones, Ben-jamin, that you actually see within these corporations and other companies?
What I've seen is through our activities, when we do a 2-question personality typing, we kind of find out what people's natural tendencies are. And we can find out and quickly pinpoint if folks are working in areas that are not their area of comfort, and so they're going to have burnout. And so when people can adapt, you can do a lot of different things skill set wise, but if it's not how you're wired internally, you're going to have burnout. And that's been a challenge, as you see people that are performing at these high levels, and it's because of skill that they've learned, but it's not who they are internally. One example is a fast-paced, people-oriented person was the accounting director. And to be a good accounting person, you've got to be slow and task-oriented, methodical. So we found out that he was going to be burning out himself pretty soon. So they took the skills that he already had and his natural tendency and made him a sales guy. And then he became one of the best sales guys they had because he already understood the numbers, but his people-oriented self then flourished.
Yes. Wow. That's just amazing. And what skills have you developed since you've launched On Purpose Adventures?
One is being open to feedback, trying to become more self-aware. And, naturally, I am not one for collaboration, and I'm trying to be more collaborative in many things. I don't know if it comes back to being an only child or being on my own for so long or all those things. I'm used to solving most problems myself. And so it's a lot, it's a struggle, but it's probably worth it.
Worth it. And what have you been collaborative on thus far with On Purpose Adventures?
Well, the strategic alliance with Dr. Troy.
Right.
We are different personalities. And we had to, besides creating the in-person programs, we created this 5-module, 5-week training course that involved a lot of content and discussion on how it's going to work and how it's going to be put together. So that was very collaborative in nature.
Wow. And that brings me to my next question. What popular activities within your company actually showcases own purpose adventures the best?
That's twofold. Because we have the distinction and difference between team building and team bonding, our cohesion culture line of things shows how our team building is different. And then our scavenger hunts are a unique bonding activities because they have undertones of team building. They were built with intentionality. We provide tablets for folks. And so the person that grabs the tablet wants to be in charge, or they've been voluntold because they're the best at technology that they should handle it. But we don't want that person in charge the whole time. And we don't want their methods to be the one in lead the whole time. So we have built-in lead changes. Every 15 minutes, someone has to change the lead. And that's really fun because it stretches comfort zones for a lot of folks. And it stretches the comfort zone of the person that wants to be the leader because they have to follow somebody else for a little while.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of intentionality with the game that, and all we're doing is playing a game, but there's been a lot of thought into the design of how a team is going to interact.
And how have you personally stretched your comfort zone?
Well, 2020 was an interesting experience because we were an outdoor event company, right? Multiple 100-person events in April of 2020 that all got canceled with refunds. And with corporate travel being gone, we had to figure out some things. So I spent some time figuring out what team building translated into a virtual space. And so this also required me sitting down by a computer and doing a lot of desk time, which I have not been doing in a very long time. I was pulling 10, 12-hour days just thinking a lot of times or working on things that just never came to fruition because I was trying to throw different mud on the wall to build stuff. A lot of it didn't happen or didn't have any, it didn't pan out. But the relationships did, some of the things that we fostered, and it laid the foundation for where we can go forward now to be a virtual and a hybrid organization. Even our app that we do scavenger hunts with, people can log into the game. Let's say there's a flight and they didn't get to come to Charleston and the team is doing the scavenger hunt. We actually have the ability that person could log in from Topeka, Kansas, and see what's going on their own phone and actually help them answer questions during the scavenger hunt.
Wow. What are those things that didn't really come to fruition in 2020 that you actually are actually accomplishing right now, Ben-jamin?
Well, I tried to create a unfacilitated version of our scavenger hunts through a website where people could just download our app and do it all. But we had a lot of technical challenges with that. Our app is designed for users like myself, which are a middle group. We are a company that creates the content on the platform. So it had a lot of tech side of things to have also a booking system that where it could be selling the thing. And that didn't happen. We finally found one that did work, got it all started, and then another tech challenge happened. So we are about a week or two away from truly launching the unfacilitated version of our scavenger hunts on purpose games. And so that's exciting because then if you don't have a budget to afford us to facilitate, you can go explore Charleston or do these other games that are location independent. Not even in Charleston, you can go do at your leisure, and we call it exploring at your own pace.
Wow. How are you actually exploring Charleston at your own pace outside of On Purpose Adventures?
Yep. So recently moved to Mount Pleasant, and I don't get to do kayak tours as much as I would like, but I live near the water now, and so now I get to paddle for me. And so that's one of the things that I get to do is truly get up early and catch sunrise most mornings on the water, and that's exciting.
Yeah, and that's what I saw in the video as well, too, man. That's really amazing. Uh, Let me ask you this, Benjamin. This is obviously a simplistic question, but who is your clientele?
Great question. The clients that work with us the best are, or find us more frequently, are companies with 20 plus employees that already have a good foundation of taking care of their people and want to further that investment, right? We like to say that we save companies tens of thousands of dollars through effective and unconventional team building and bonding. So that's really our goal. And so bigger, companies between the 20 employees and 500 are the sweet spot to really maintain, their culture. A little bit bigger, we're not quite set up for a bigger company. I mean, we can do some things, but not to the level that we normally would do.
How do people attract and retain those particular clients?
That's an age-old question, right? It's coming back at it, and how do you get repeats? And prior, in 2019, we just started doing a little bit more repeat business where they would meet us in Charleston, and then when they'd fly us out to somewhere else, they're doing another session. Now the first session is not even in Charleston. So our goal is, to do a better job of following up, but also let them know that, hey, you've experienced this one version of what we do. We also have X, Y, and Z that's online or in person in your city. I've recently created scavenger hunts in other cities, mailed our tablets to those people, and they do the hunt by themselves and they mail them back. The other alternative is flying us there, but it's a little cheaper to have us just send some tablets. And so far, so good. We've had great success with that.
Wow. Is this for every company?
No. Our team building when we do that, it requires a level of being honest with each other and being self-aware with some of the questions we have. And when there is a lot of tension or underlying things, it'll get brought out, and team building that is meant to build and strengthen could rip them apart because the things that have been boiling under the surface for so long come out. So it all depends on how they approach it. So if you already have a very toxic culture, you have to have some internal conversations before you do some things that might prompt questions that bring this stuff out in the public. Public being your own company,
right?
And we are not cheap. So shoestring budget. We're trying to create some options for some lower budget options, and we get that. But typically, our price range is out of some companies' budgets.
Right. So absolutely. And Benjamin, what is that exact conversation between you and your clients before they take on these, adventures with you all?
Well, just like when I started, I also define the terms of, because they will fill out a form or they'll call and say they want to do a team building activity. And we're going to say team building is skill set enhancement, blah, blah, blah. Team bonding is relationship driven. Okay. And I define those a little bit more in detail. And I ask, based on those definitions, what is it that you're truly seeking from this particular event? And then we find out and we go down that decision because of that helps us have better expectations for the experience, right? Because I don't want them thinking they're going to get one thing and we deliver what they asked for, but it's not, we didn't meet their expectations.
Yes, indeed. And what do you want to obviously build on next when it comes to on-purpose adventures?
More online programming so they can take the start of what we've done with them and continue the process. Dr. Troy and I have created a Cohesion Culture Cycle, which is a culture wellness program. And, just like a workout program, you need a plan, and then you actually need to go to the gym. So we actually have the ability of having a plan in place. Here's the thing. It's an assessment. And then we're going to give you some continuing education and sustaining everything. So we will give you the workouts to do along the way. And so we actually have year-long programs and recommendations for company who truly want to enhance their culture.
And speaking of culture, Benjamin, talk to me. How many of those companies that come to you are actually minority businesses?
Well, one of the most successful we have is a woman-based CEO with the company. I haven't tracked enough of that information to say, but most of the groups that we have are fairly well diverse, coming from a lot of folks, different areas. A lot of companies from the West Coast come here too. So, from a diversity sake, the mix of the participants is pretty high, but I can't state to ownership or that.
And outside of On Purpose Adventures, how do you better support another business professionally?
How do I? Okay, so as another business in general, or
yes,
as a company, like how do we support?
Yes, sir. Exactly right.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we can be a great partner and alliance because sometimes there's the prophet gets no audience in his own town, right? So even if you are a positive person and a leader in your own company, sometimes it requires a third party to be able to be heard. And so we will have the consults with the CEOs or whoever is planning the session, ask what they want to accomplish, and then we'll also not pull any punches and ask questions because they still might be the problem with some of the challenges, right? So we want to partner with them to infuse culture. We're not going to change a company's culture because if you're a culture of service or joy or whatever, you're going to be that. We're going to give you a framework though to make it enhanced.
Enhanced. And which one of those activities within On Purpose Adventures describes you personally?
I truly love some of our expeditions, our executive expeditions. They are a great blend. So think multi-day kayaking down the Edisto River, infused with leadership talk along the way, campfires, and just good business talk. So the whole program is designed to leave your natural environment, have some meaningful conversations in a very unique way.
And what are those meaningful conversations that you want to have next with your clients when it comes to On Purpose Adventures?
One, to understand that you don't have to have it all figured out. You have to make some step. You have to move forward to some degree, right? And if you're for what skill set you want to enhance, okay, we'll start with some bonding. Start with something fun, right? Start with, a layer of mortar so that the next layer of bricks that you add on will stick, right? And that's important. Just take the next step to think about your people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Ben-jamin Toy of On Purpose Adventures, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
Likewise.
Have a great one.
You too.